Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Vegan Proteins Muscles by Brussels Radio. My name is 𝐬𝐝𝐸𝐽.
And I'm Danny.
And this is our 63rd episode.
So we almost had to record this podcast in the dark today because we woke up and we had no power. That sucked. It was really weird because I always sleep with a fan on me, and when the power went out, all of a sudden it sounded like I was pulled into a vacuum or something. Just like I knew I woke up because it was too quiet, and that was a really bizarre way to wake up. Like my eyes shot open and I was like, why is it so quiet?
And I woke up because I was so flabbergasted at the thought of Danny being able to wake up because the fan shut off. And even in like my deepest of a sleep cycle, I'm like, how in the world did that wake her up?
I didn't even know the fan shut off. I just knew all of the sudden it was very, very quiet. White noise was still playing on my phone, but I knew that it had gotten exponentially more quiet at 4:30 in the morning, and it wasn't until I got up to go to the bathroom that I noticed that the clock lights were out, and I was like, oh, the power went out. That's why it sounded like I was in a vacuum all of a sudden.
And I'm starting to question who you really are, that you basically never are fully asleep.
Anyway, the power came back on like an hour ago, which was good. We still don't even know why it went out. It was literally just on our half of the street. And that was it.
It was a little bit weird. I feel like those storms, when they corrected the power grid and started doing all that work, that maybe there was just some residual issue. Who knows?
Or it rained last night. Maybe someone hit a telephone pole. More likely.
Stranger things hath happened.
Anyway, it's been a cool couple of weeks. We helped my sister and my niece and my nephew, who we've talked about on this podcast a lot before. We helped them move, so now they are 8 minutes down the road instead of an hour away, which is really exciting. And I think it's going to free up a lot of our time, because driving an hour each way a few times a week is a lot of driving. And they're in a much nicer place too, so that was real cool.
Yeah. Crazy moving during the pandemic, though. There's issues with getting furniture, and it's really awkward when you're dealing with people and you're needing to relocate from one place to another, and there's kind of we need to keep our distance, but we also need to get this move going. Yeah, it's a really interesting thing. I mean, everything's pretty much different this year, and I feel like moving for anyone in general, we even have some clients that have, I have some clients that have moved, and it was all kinds of things they couldn't predict happening, basically.
Well, it ended up being me, my sister, and 𝐬𝐝𝐸𝐽, end of list, handling the entire move. And guess what? There's 2 babies here, so one of the adults needed to watch the kids. So I had kid duty, and 𝐬𝐝𝐸𝐽 and my sister moved everything by themselves, down 4 flights of stairs and up 3 flights of stairs. So
I told myself that it was 3 flights of stairs on the first move, just to keep my sanity. I woke up, oh my gosh, the inflammation kept setting in for 2 to 3 days, and finally I'm holy crap, I got hit by 2 trucks. And the crazy athlete in me was I love this. And the reasonable, rational person was I need to do something other than think about and talk about how sore I am. Anyways.
But we topped off the weekend with another ice cream place we went to. It's 40 minutes away. We're really driving far and wide for this ice cream challenge. That was place number 12.
All right, I got to put this out there because
we'll take a poll.
And I am the creative one here.
Okay.
I'm just going to have to toot my own horn.
Yeah, if you mean gross.
No, the one that likes to think outside the box and try foods that just clearly don't pair well together, or whatever that means. But nerds and ice cream. Specifically, it was a vegan ginger molasses. Was that the flavor?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the thought process. Do nerds go well as a topping on ginger molasses ice cream?
So would you eat nerds and ginger snap cookies together?
And I say yes.
And that's a hard no. There is no world where those are okay together. Citrusy, fruity, sour nerds on this creamy, warm flavored, really rich. Oh my God, just watching him eat it was so upsetting. And I think it was the best ice cream we've had so far.
Because of the nerds.
Nope.
Hit all of the senses.
Nope. Because the ice cream was really, really good.
And that.
So, what are we talking about today?
Coaches, most specifically the coaching industry, and how there are predatory practices, whether coaches realize it or not. I mean, this is a topic that I feel like we can just get super salty about and pretty much talk about till the day is long. We've been in this industry for
10 years.
Give or take. And even before that, I was doing personal training. And of course, we've been doing our own thing as athletes. So you might say that we have some experience and some pretty strong opinions here.
This is like my number one crusade. This is probably the issue that is most near and dear to my heart in all of the realm of coaching, whether it's bodybuilding coaching or lifestyle coaching or fat loss coaching. But I want to clarify something, because as I started thinking, like, predatory coaching, what is predatory coaching? And I started thinking about how, like, probably the most mainstream definition of predatory coaching is what happens to youth sports sometimes, where, coaches are actual, literal predators out to hurt these young girls and boys. That is a whole nother topic. That is not what we're talking about today. But I figured that I would just put that out there. Like, when I started Googling, like, predatory coaching, that was it. That was the whole first page of Google, was like coaches that had.
I'm holding your hand over here because we're going down a Danny rabbit hole, and I would love to throw a little bit of that in here, but...
No, that was the whole first page, was like coaches that had allegations brought against them by minors, and that's a very serious topic, and arguably much, much more dangerous than what we are about to talk about today. But I just wanted to put it out there. That is also predatory coaching, but not what we're talking about today.
So then what is predatory coaching?
So the type of predatory coaching that we're going to be talking about today is basically coaching using unethical practices in a lot of different ways. There are a lot of ways that folks in the coaching industry kind of use what I would consider to be pretty shady tactics to either acquire new clients or get the client to their goal, or not.
So what kind of things would they do to get the client and get them towards their goals that you would consider shady?
So to back up a bit, I think it's really important to note, like 𝐬𝐿𝐾𝐿 said, we have been doing coaching and online coaching for 10 years now. And back in 2010, 2011, there was like one or two other people doing this in the vegan world. Remember?
Sure.
There was nobody. It was like us or this person or this person. End of list right there. Now, in 2020, I was actually just saying this to 𝐬𝐿𝐾𝐿 yesterday. I was in a Facebook group, which I don't really participate in Facebook, but I do scroll frequently. And I was reading this post in a Facebook group where somebody said, hey, I know there are a lot of coaches in here, and I'm thinking about hiring one. And there were 38 responses from 38 different people on this one post that had happened less than an hour ago, of people saying, like, shoot me a DM or I'll DM you, of all of these people who were coaches. And I think if you have spent more than 5 minutes on the internet, I don't even think this is just like what we see because of the niche that we work in. I think everybody has seen it. The coaching industry is so obscenely saturated. And I'm not even just talking about fitness coaching. I'm talking about business coaching. I'm talking about marketing coaching. I'm talking about copywriting coaching. I'm talking about any kind of coaching you can possibly imagine. The online coaching world is just like an ocean of noise at this point. Would you agree?
Unfortunately, that's the way I feel like most things are these days because of the internet and social media and the way that we communicate. And yeah, the online coaching community is unfortunately now not the exception.
So you said, what are some unethical things somebody would do to acquire new clients. Well, there are a lot of things that people do, I think, but basically because the market is so saturated, everybody's trying to find a way to stand out in this din, basically. And I've mentioned this before in passing. I think, unfortunately, a much larger part than anybody cares to acknowledge about whether or not somebody becomes successful in a coaching endeavor has very little to do with how much they know. It has very little to do with how much they help their clients. It has a whole hell of a lot to do with how good you are at marketing yourself and how good you are at sales, period.
Or how far you're willing to take it, because you can promise somebody the world and unrealistic results, and you can talk a big game, and you can put all kinds of flashy bells and whistles on pictures and whatnot, and someone will be like, oh, okay, not knowing any better, they seem like they know what they're doing, and they're going to deliver results because I want something that's unrealistic, although they don't know it in hindsight, and this person is promising me it. Like, oh, I can lose X amount of pounds, and I could lose 30 pounds in 2 weeks, for example. Like, I hate to be extreme and exaggerate, but you get my drift. It's so much harder to sell balance and health and, hey, I'm going to get you to a healthier place and I'm going to get you results and you're going to keep them. It's much easier. And this has been going on since as long as I can remember, even as a kid, just fast results. And although it's not called crash dieting, it's what's happening basically. And it's a combination of coaches not knowing what the hell they're doing. And also, and I use the word coaches lightly, and also promising things that are just not possible. And if they are possible, they come with a serious set of consequences.
So if it largely comes down to marketing, something Giacomo and I are not particularly great at in the first place. Admittedly, this is not our strong suit. If it all comes down to marketing, what's the most important thing to learn? Is it, how to help somebody achieve and maintain healthy habits for the rest of their life? No, it's how to be really good at marketing. So I would say maybe a year and a half ago, Giacomo and I took a pretty intensive marketing course, actually. And we learned a lot. It was very eye-opening. But one of the things that I really struggled with was this idea of aggravating someone's pain as a way to get them interested in signing up with you for your services. So for example, if somebody is struggling with their body image and they're feeling really bad, as a good marketer, you are supposed to go in there and kind of really, really make them sit in that pain of how hard it is to have low body image, or how hard it is to feel confident going out on a date night with your husband. And you're really supposed to rub some salt into that wound for these people and then offer them a solution, offer them the way out, and talk about how much more positive things can be on the other side and how you have the answer. And, like I said, we did learn some, I think, valuable things from this particular marketing course, but I also learned that a lot of marketing is really friggin' slimy. It's so slimy. I don't know. That's how I feel. And ever since I've kind of learned literally what the formula is, and it's a formula. I mean, you took the class with me. Do you feel like it's a formula?
In some ways, I don't know that I personally feel that it's super slimy. I feel like it's dependent upon your approach and how you're able to get someone to open up a little bit without targeting them per se. Because I've been the one doing our coaching calls, and it's like, well, I do see the value in getting someone to open up a little bit about feeling comfortable knowing that you're going to work on body acceptance with them.
Right. No, that was just one example of 1,000 different examples. Mm-hmm. It could be anything. It could be rubbing salt in the wound of being the weak, skinny, scrawny guy. It could be anything. It doesn't matter. Whatever your demographic is, the instruction is find their pain and exploit the shit out of it until they want to buy from you. How can that not be slimy? You know, it's one thing to ask somebody questions about why it is that they want to change and kind of get them to examine that a little bit deeper so that they can make a decision for themselves if they want to take a step forward or not. But it's another thing to be like, you know, just rubbing someone's face in an issue that they're already facing for the sake of making a sale.
So you're saying, and let me see if I'm understanding correctly here, that this kind of tactic is being deployed in Facebook groups, and it's happening as far as like selling yourself rather than waiting for someone to take the first step and come approach you. Is that what you mean?
Listen, if you're going to someone's Instagram profile, I'm going to get so much shade for this. If you're going to someone's Instagram profile and their bio says, I help so-and-so achieve so-and-so in X weeks, okay? If you're seeing something that says, I help working moms get their pre-baby body in 12 weeks, they are following the formula. And now that I've said it, you're never gonna not notice it again. And listen, let me back up. I don't think that everybody who's taken a marketing course, who's trying to use certain strategies of marketing to get their voice out there, I don't think everybody doing that is a bad coach. I don't think everybody doing that is a predatory coach. But, you know, some people, it's like YouTube, right? If you go to YouTube, there's a lot of really great coaches and content creators who have clickbait titles. Right? The videos are not bad. The videos offer great information, but there's a clickbait title because you're not going to get that information unless you click that button, right? So they put a title, that one secret to get a flat belly. You're going to click on it and they're going to be like, dude, there's no secret to get a flat belly. Like, you have to, it's calories in, calories out. So I'm not saying everybody who follows these strategies are bad. I'm saying be aware of it. Just because someone is a good marketer does not mean that they are a good coach. What do they know? What are their results? What are their clients saying about them? And I'm going to get a little bit more into this in a minute, but I think that it's really important to just examine somebody's marketing tactics. How are they getting their message across to you? How are you feeling when you're reading their stuff? Are you feeling worse about yourself when you read their stuff? I mean, you know, to highlight an issue in one's life is a little bit different than just literally rubbing salt on the wound, I feel like.
Right. And then what kind of work is going to happen when you're getting coaching from this individual as opposed to it potentially being its own formula where there were perhaps no issues at all that were actually worked upon, and you were just kind of getting put through the system of feeling like crap because of the way someone was marketing to you, and then thinking everything was okay without doing anything more than scratching the surface. Because there are those deeper layers where we do really have a lot of work that needs to be done. I don't care where you are in your fitness journey, if you will. Like, there's always something that can be done in regards to feeling more comfortable in your own skin and feeling more familiar with how to be in touch with your hunger signals and feed yourself. Like, that is work that I think can be done for a lifetime, in all honesty, even when you get to a healthy place. But is that the stuff that's being worked on when you get put through the ringer with this marketing formula that seems to be so pervasive all over the place? Like, it's saturating the fitness industry. And I'm going to go ahead and say it, I do feel like the vegan community in general is especially vulnerable to this kind of crap, just because we are a community that is built on ethics.
I don't know if it's especially vulnerable because I follow a lot of different types of fitness accounts that have nothing to do with veganism, and I do see this everywhere. Like I said, it is the standard formula. I don't know. I don't want to get too far into it, but that's one of the hooks. There are lots of hooks. We could talk about lots of hooks. Some of them more and less ethical, but that one I definitely feel like is the worst one. Like, just going out of your way to make somebody feel worse about whatever it is that they're facing. So I actually posted on Instagram in my story yesterday, which you can follow me at VeganProteins. I posted, what do you want to know about predatory coaching? And I got a lot of questions and kind of thoughts on this. So I think some of them are really good. So someone said, and I think this is probably what most people want to hear, what are some red flags to be mindful of? And we did together make a YouTube video about this over a year ago about coaching red flags, where I deliberately tried not to say any names, if you recall. But, we'll probably go over some of those again right now. So I think one of the first red flags is if they have a zillion clients. If they have a zillion clients, and I mean, you can straight up ask somebody when you're interviewing a coach, how many one-on-one clients do you have? And I mean, if it's a high number, I guess what would you say a high number is?
Any more than 30.
I mean, I think if somebody works a lot, they could handle 40 really well. But I think anything above that, you're not getting great one-on-one attention. Now, if somebody isn't doing one-on-one coaching, maybe they're doing group coaching. Maybe they're doing just a membership to their site. Like 𝐬𝐿𝐾𝐿 and I have those levels of coaching. There's the membership to our academy. That's $25 a month. It's great. There's tons of great content in there, but it's not one-on-one coaching.
Right. The same way we do our 12-week courses, which are partially self-guided, community support, like the fat loss course,
so there's
for example,
some one-on-one coaching there, but it's, a lot of it is a course. It's learning.
Exactly.
And then we have actual one-on-one coaching, and obviously they get absolute 100% attention. Like we help them manage their everything in person. So, I mean, you have to know what you're looking for, first of all. Like, what is this person, what do they offer? Because some people do better with group coaching. Some people just need a community, and some people need absolute 100% hands-on coaching. So you have to find out what that is. But in general, and I have seen this where some people have literally thousands of clients. What kind of personal attention could possibly be there? Especially if it's just one or two coaches. So that is something that I would keep an eye out for, is somebody that just has an incredibly high number of clients. And 𝐬𝐿𝐾𝐿 and I have worked as clients with some of the best, you can't see me, but I'm using quotes here, best coaches in the industry, some of the top fitness experts in the entire industry, and we paid absolute top dollar to do that, to find out that they had a zillion clients and there was actually very little one-on-one attention.
Yeah, it was a bummer. I have to say, it broke my heart, and it gave me a lot of distrust about feeling confident giving my trust to a coach, because it's a really personal thing, right? I mean, I'm letting someone else program my training. I'm letting someone else tell me what my nutrition needs to be. I'm giving someone else the keys to the kingdom, essentially, and saying, here, this is my life. Do with it what you will. And I'm going to question stuff, but ultimately, I'm going to let you guide and support me. Like, that's not an easy thing to do.
And just to be, we're not interested in talking about who the crappy coach was, but just to be clear, we are not talking about 3DMJ. They're fantastic. Truly. So. But yeah, a ton of clients would be a big red flag. Another, in my opinion, probably the biggest red flag is if they run challenges where they offer cash prizes to the winner.
And you did a YouTube video about this, and it's basically like, if money is your motivator here, are you really going to make a change, or are you just going to be chasing that paper?
Well, it's not just that, but some of these challenges I see, I mean, the prize is not $100, it's thousands and thousands of dollars. I think the biggest one I've seen in the vegan community is 10,000 MF dollars if you win this thing. Do you know what people will do for $10,000 to have the best before and after picture, which is how they pick the winner, I might add. For $10,000, there are people that won't eat for 2 straight weeks just to have the best before and after picture. Is that a good coach? Or is that someone who is really good at getting some stunning before and after pictures? Take that and pair it with a course where they teach you how to take the best possible selfies. Come on, guys. Come on. If they're running 12-week challenges, offering thousands of dollars to the winner, and simultaneously, or during that time, teaching you how to take the best possible selfie. They have literally taught you how to take the most stunning before and after picture that could ever freaking exist.
And you'll be their next advertisement.
You paid them for the pleasure of essentially turning yourself into their product.
Wow.
You get it?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you don't see the product, you are the product. Take that line, bury it in your brain, remember it forever. If you can't see the product, you are the product. All right. See? Look, I'm getting so heated.
So do it. Get angry. Grr.
Damn it. So, if any coach is offering cash prizes based on before and after pictures or based on weight loss, that's a huge red flag, because I could lose 20 pounds in a month if I did all the right things. Should I lose 20 pounds in a month? Absolutely hell to the no. Would I gain it back instantly? Yeah, and then some, without a doubt. But would I have just made this person some outstanding marketing material? Yep.
And sadly, because the responsibility is also on the client, some people are genuinely looking for that.
Oh yeah, I mean, don't get me, even we get clients sometimes who it's like, listen, my wedding is in 4 months. I want to look amazing in those wedding pictures. I mean, how is that really that different from bodybuilding? I have this competition on this day. Let's kill it for that day. But first of all, we're not offering any cash prizes for looking the best that you can in a pool of hundreds of people. And this kind of leads me to my next point. Is the coach telling you something, or are they teaching you something? Because they're different. And yeah, a lot of times in the beginning, some people need to be told what to do, but while they're doing it, a good coach will be teaching them why this is working, why they should continue it.
A good coach will also teach them and warn them of what this is going to do. In other words, if you want those kinds of fast results, it's going to come at a cost. Usually it's your mental health and your ability to balance yourself out after the fact. And then, of course, are they going to support you after you get to this finish line? Or are they going to drop you like a bad habit or just double down on the same tactic?
Right. So, like, if I'm going to take my client somewhere that's a little iffy, you know, which is every bodybuilding show ever, just so we're clear, getting somebody stage lean, you're playing with fire at that point. For most people, there's going to be a conversation about that. And it's going to be like, hey, you could come out of this absolutely perfectly wonderful, or there's probably going to be some physical, metabolic, and mental muck that we're going to have to get through after this. Is this something you want to do or not? And being really honest with the nitty-gritty of what that can look like. And, you know, sometimes people say, yeah, you know, I just don't think that's the smartest thing for me to do, and they have my utmost support. But a lot of times what I see is if someone's about to put someone through the ringer for, say, a 12-week dieting contest, they'll kind of give the illusion that they're giving that disclaimer where they're like, hey, this is really, really hard and it's only for the toughest, most hardcore people, and if you're not that person, then this might not be for you. To that, I say bullshit. You can be the toughest, most hardcore person and you can adhere to these things just fine, but that doesn't mean you're going to come out the other side okay. In fact, you're almost certainly not. In fact, I would argue that the more hardcore somebody actually is, whatever that means, the more adherent somebody is to an incredibly detrimental program, the worse of a time they're going to have after the fact. Because if you're half-assing a dieting program that is inherently way too low in calories and way too high in cardio, at the other side, you're kind of going to come out the same. You know, like you kind of half-assed your way through it. Maybe you got a little results. You're probably going to gain it back, but you're probably going to be okay. Disappointed in yourself for half-assing it and thinking you're the problem, but you're going to be okay. Somebody who goes through it and adheres 100% to the 3 hours of walking up a hill every day and the 900 calories with 200 grams of protein for 12 weeks, and they lose 20 pounds and they look amazing, and then it's over. And then what? That person is going to be so mentally effed up when they gain all that weight back and then some. And that's the best case scenario. The worst case scenario being they spiral into a straight up eating disorder.
So why do this?
Because it gets you results. Because somebody 3 months ago exacerbated the shit out of their pain of not being where they wanted to be. You're not where you want to be yet? Boy, isn't your life terrible because you're not where you want to be yet? Think about how hard that is every time you want to do something, but you don't like the way you look and it holds you back. Please just fork your money over to me and I can change that in 3 months. And they do. And then everything goes to shit right afterwards. And then the client ends up feeling like they are the problem. The program worked. They looked great. I must be the problem because I couldn't maintain it when it was never designed to be sustainable in the first place. Do I have smoke coming out of my ears yet?
Yeah. I guess I don't really have any answers here as far as what to do. There are some real murky waters where, in essence, you as a coach are required to deliver, but there's also, I think there's more than a conversation that has to be had before the fact. I think it's something that you talk about throughout the process with your client, as opposed to just sensationalizing the results and then afterwards there's no emotional support that you can deliver because you've already sealed the deal. You've been like, all right, just focus on the finish line. We had a warning and a conversation about it in the beginning and whatever. I'll even do it again with you 4 weeks later. And I see that shit happen over and over again. And it drives me crazy because what's happening is that the factory, the coaching, the online coaching industry factory is literally churning out unhealthy people that are primed to be more and more unhealthy over time. And by the time they get to someone who's actually able to help them,
it's going to take years.
Oh my
years
gosh.
to fix that stuff.
It's devastating.
Yeah. So a couple of other things that I was thinking of as you were talking that goes along with the are they telling, not teaching. Are they giving you food rules that they can't actually explain? You know, I have this one client, she's listening. She knows who I'm talking about. She had arguably the worst coaching experience of any client I've ever had. And that's saying a lot because what we're talking about right now is super common. Super, super common. I should be paying some of these bad coaches for the number of busted ass clients that I end up getting from them. That's a joke. I would never give them $1. But seriously, they keep the pool of people that really do need help very, very large, and it's kind of heartbreaking. But anyway, this client had one of the worst coaching experience of any client I have ever had, and this person gave her more food rules than I can even begin to explain to you. Almost none of them made sense. Almost none of them made sense. They were all like rooted in 1970s performance enhancing drug culture bodybuilding bullshit that has like decades over been disproven. And then when and if she was struggling with these things, he literally insulted her for it. Insulted her, said she wasn't tough enough, she didn't have like the mindset to be able to pull through this. This gal lost like 60 pounds or something like that to compete. She's leaner now than I have ever been. And she's a super freaking hard worker. She was just steered down a very, very, very bad path. And it is going to take a long time to undo not just the physical damage of doing hours of cardio on 800 calories a day, but the mental, emotional, psychological damage of being insulted and belittled by someone that you were paying to help you achieve your goals. Like, I can't even imagine what goes through people's head. Like, listen, if you can't deal with other people's humanity, this ain't the industry for you.
What do you mean by that?
People are human. They're not robots. First of all, the entire system on which this coach's programs were built was absolutely garbage. It was hot garbage. This person had not one clue what they were talking about at all. Oh my God. I don't even know where to begin with some of the logical fallacies this person had. But even if it was built on sound principles, even if it's the best possible laid plan, people are not going to adhere 100% because guess what? Life happens. When we look at the top athletes in the entire world, we're looking at Olympic competitors, right? Mm-hmm. The people that go to the Olympics. These people are basically handled with kid gloves in every possible way. They train, sometimes for 8 hours a day, but then they are kind of put in a room and they relax and recover and restore and rehab like it is a second full-time job. They don't have kids to deal with almost ever. They don't have an outside full-time job. Their stress is kept to such a bare minimum outside of their training. They have a team of professionals helping them. The average person
does not have anywhere next to near those kinds of resources.
Not even one of those things that I just said is true, and nor should it be true, because then, that would be your entire life. So you have to be able to work with what's going on in someone's life, to work with their own physical, mental, emotional, psychological limitations, find their, what's the word I'm looking for? Not illogical beliefs, but find their limiting beliefs and try to sort of change them to be more open. Like, you have to work with people, but they're not robots. If you say, hey, I want you to eat 800 calories, and guess what? They're starving and they had an episode where they ate 2,000 calories, which is still not a lot, and you say, like, you're a fat, lazy loser and you're never going to achieve what you want to achieve, like, I feel like that should actually be punishable by a governing body of some kind. But unfortunately, there is no governing body of coaches. So, like, if a doctor said that to a client, or did any of the things that we were just talking about, or an RD said or did any of these things to a patient, doctors don't have clients, they have patients, but if somebody said or did any of this to a patient, if a therapist said or did any of these things to a patient, they would lose their license. But a coach, there is nobody looking over their shoulder. It doesn't exist. You really, really need to keep that in mind. We are at 43 minutes of me just being angry.
Well, I can't exactly get in the way of that now, can I?
All right, I will ask you some of the questions here. This is a good question, actually. How reliable are fitness coaches who are sponsored by supplement brands?
Well, I don't want to judge them right off the rip for being beholden to a supplement brand, because, hey, we all need to eat, and that coach might genuinely feel a strong connection to that brand, as well as have an actual belief in that product on what it can do. But it also does come with a limiting factor, because you do have to answer to the company you work for. You do have to push their product to some degree, and there is some inherent bias involved there. The other thing is, unfortunately, those supplement companies do prey on coaches and do try to get them into their circle and into their fold and be like, hey, come on, look a certain way and influence other people, and I'll go ahead and make money with you. And so that's a pretty good working relationship that can become somewhat addictive, where you're focusing on the brand and supporting them more so than focusing on the client. But then on the other side of the token, there are coaches who genuinely agree with certain products and jive well with certain brands. And so I think it's one of those kinds of things where you have to do your research, and also you have to ask questions.
Yeah, and I think if you are looking at the rest of this coach's sort of body of work, you'll be able to get some sort of hint of whether this is a person who behaves with integrity most of the time. And if that's the case, then, they're probably not trying to sell you a bunch of BS. And then there are other people who, you can tell that they don't operate with integrity, maybe take their advice with a bit of a grain of salt. But I think that if you are a coach and you are recommending certain products to people, you'd be kind of dumb to not at least reach out to those companies and be like, hey, just so you know, you're my favorite company and I recommend you to all of my clients. Is there any way that I could get a discount code for my clients and maybe like a small commission? Like, you'd be kind of not a very smart business person if you didn't at least try to do that. Some of you guys know I work with True Nutrition, which is a company that I love, obviously. Otherwise, I wouldn't have approached them in the first place. I think their protein powders taste great. Do I think everything in their line is useful? Absolutely not. There are products on their line that I don't think anybody needs to take ever. And you can not take any protein powder whatsoever and be super successful. You cannot take a creatine and be super successful. You've heard what I think about BCAAs, so not recommending that one. Even though they are tasty, are they necessary? No. Are they even helpful? Not really. So, I mean, if somebody is able to say that rather than everything this company does is awesome and I recommend every single one of their products to every single one of my clients regardless of their goal, yeah, that's probably not as as accurate, I would say. And also, if I say, hey, this is my favorite flavor of protein powder from True Nutrition, here's a link and a discount code if you're interested in that. And if they say, I've tried it, I don't really like it, or it's kind of out of my price range, then my response is usually, here are some other ones you might not have heard of from other companies that are cheaper and more accessible. Right. You know, I've recommended Plant Fusion, 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐜𝐫𝐢𝐻𝐿, TrueNutrition.com, where you build your own in bulk. I don't get any kickback from that at all, but if it works better for the client, like, what do I care? It's not worth the $2 that I would get from this person buying protein powder from True Nutrition to put them in a situation where they may eventually not trust me in the future. That's not worth $2 to me. Are you kidding? But it's a great question. You could ask this exact same question about influencers in general, not just selling supplements, but selling all kinds of things. You know, influencers sell all kinds of things. So it's always a good question to ask. My friend Potato Wisdom asked, are most fitness coaches trained to build a flashy portfolio for their testimonials?
Unfortunately, I think that it is necessary to some degree because that's your calling card. You got to get people in the door. And I feel like it's one of those things where the cart can be put before the horse because you just wind up having a strong portfolio right out the gate. One, it can be exploitative, especially if you don't warn those people or if you don't even ask them at all and you just start posting
to use their pictures of themselves in their underwear.
Yeah, that's not cool. And it's almost like you can sort of coerce people into becoming poster boys or girls for your brand by just being like, hey, this means a lot to me, I'm just going to do it, okay? Rather than, hey, this is a really sensitive thing and I don't even want to ask. I was just wondering, since we seem to work well together, can we post this before and after picture of you? So I think it's approach, and obviously you have to guess for that person's consent. And I've seen the opposite happen where...
But to her question, are they trained to do that? No, that is not a part of any personal training certificate test out there that I am aware of. There is no marketing involved in taking like NASM, for example. No. Zero. They don't teach you any marketing. So again, this goes back to, if you're really good at marketing, you can still fail the NASM test and still be a monetarily successful coach.
Point taken.
You know? So yeah, I think it's like intuitive. You know, if I was a construction worker, if I built houses, my portfolio would be pictures of beautiful houses I built. If I coached people to make incredible transformations, my portfolio is going to be that with their permission, of course. But it's a good question, I think.
Emmeline Varney asks, I'd like to know your thoughts on coaches who market as food freedom coaches, or those that say they'll help fix your relationship with food are predatory coaches.
So are they predatory coaches?
Yeah.
I think it depends on the person. I think it totally depends on the person. Just like all these other things we've been talking about, you know, there are clients that I help them fix their relationship with food. There are other clients I just help get ready for a bodybuilding show. I think that somebody who is working kind of with that demographic, if that's their demographic, is people who have, you know, kind of screwed up relationships with food, they might be coming from a great place. They might be really good at what they do. They might not. I mean, do I believe food freedom actually exists within the fitness community? Yeah, totally. Almost 100%. I think that's a possibility. So I think it really, really depends upon the person. And again, what they know, what they do, what their clients have to say about them. And then a really important one, I think, especially with this fixing a relationship with food, are they working with people with active eating disorders? Because unless you are like a licensed therapist, a registered dietitian, a lot of nutrition work with someone with an active eating disorder is outside of the scope of practice. And that is another red flag. If anybody is working with someone with a clinical condition, or saying that they can cure or treat physical or mental ailments with their coaching. If they're not a doctor, that's way outside of their scope of practice. So that's always something to be aware of. I have worked with people who have eating disorders in conjunction with their therapists and or registered dietitians. But if I was the only person in that client's corner, I would not be able to do that. It would be outside of my scope. It would be unethical. Yes. I don't have the years of training, the years of schooling that you would need to be able to actually do that. Do I know a lot about it from like an armchair psychologist standpoint? Sure. But, I'm not going to pretend that means that I can actually be the sole practitioner in someone's corner to help them work with disordered eating, especially at a clinical level. And I feel like, unfortunately, when you're talking about food freedom and achieving food freedom, you're going to get people who, maybe they just don't have the best relationship with food. You're also going to get people that cross the line to a place where you're probably not the best person to work with them. And are you willing and able to say, hey, I want to help you, but I feel like this is outside of my scope? Is the person able to turn business away when they know it's not the most ethical thing to do? It's a tough question.
And then the other thing that I feel like is really important is, are you able to bring that out in somebody when you know that it's brewing? These are really difficult and sensitive questions to ask a client when you kind of see the writing on the wall and you're almost interpreting for them because they're not being forthcoming,
or they just might not know
that. And it's your responsibility to be able to have the foresight and basically be like, this is something I see, could be wrong, could be right. Can we sort of look into it a little bit together, and can we be open-minded about it?
Kindred Tofu asked about offering money to the best results clients. We talked about that quite a bit. Pascal said, I think you are too smart. Well, thank you, Pascal. Okay, there are two more questions here, both from our friend Amber. The first one was, how much should you expect to pay for coaching? I think it's a huge window, really.
So this is one of those things where I think it's really difficult to say, but I'd wager that if you're paying any less than $250 a month for a coach, you're not getting one-on-one attention at all.
We don't know any really great coaches that are charging less than that, and that's actually the lower end, I would say.
Right.
The more knowledge, the more experience, the more credentials someone has, that number just goes up. Right. And I also think that new coaches, like people who are just getting in, dramatically undercharge.
They're getting their feet wet, they're getting experience, but hey, any person who's worth what they're charging is going to need to charge what they're actually worth, or they're going to be out of a job in 5 years, essentially.
We did that. We did that forever, and God bless those clients that are still with us from that day that got grandfathered in at those prices, because we just didn't know any better until we were drowning in work and still, not doing super great financially. We talked to professionals and they were like, you're morons. And these people are getting more value than people paying 5 times that price. And we were like, oh. But I think that's common for new coaches. And I also think it can be a good thing to kind of get your ass kicked in the beginning, honestly.
Yeah.
But that's for one-on-one coaching. Group coaching could be anywhere. It could be anything. It could be anything. It depends on what the group is. It depends on how big the group is. Is your group 100 people? You probably shouldn't be paying more than like $50 a month for that. Is your group 5 people? You could be paying over $200 a month for that, or you could be paying like $100. It just depends.
What really grinds my gears, Danny, when I see people paying one-on-one coaching prices for group coaching.
Yeah.
That pisses me off.
Yeah. In fact, in our marketing class, that is exactly what we were basically instructed to do, was to stop offering one-on-one coaching because it's not infinitely scalable. to do one-on-one coaching, guys. There's a limit of how many one-on-one clients you can take. But if you're doing group coaching, you can multiply that number by 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, really as many people as you can fit into a class. And, no shade to people that do group coaching. Like I said, we offer a group coaching course as well, but I don't think we've ever had more than like 12 people in it at a time. But I digress. The marketing coach was like, you guys need to do a group coaching model. And we were like, well, that's just not possible with the type of coaching that we do. And they were like, well, you should, you have to. If you guys want to grow to be XYZ, you have to. And we really did think about it. And at the end of the day, we decided like, that's just not us.
Well, I do kind of differ with you here a little bit. One, like you, this is where we're the same. I genuinely love coaching one-on-one. Like it's harder work, but I adore, like, it's so important to me on a personal level. It's what I love to do, and that's why I'm doing it. And yes, it is sustainable. However, I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with group coaching and charging a similar rate for it.
You just said that grinds your gears.
Yes, it grinds my gears when it's something that a coach does not deliver on, though. When they create like a super basic thing where there's no community support, a simple program that looks the same as everyone else's, and it's like, oh, you're just buying into this thing because of some famous person's face or because of a whole bunch of marketing BS. You can deliver a good group coaching product, but I unfortunately feel like they're few and far in between because it's so easy to not do it and still collect. That's what I mean.
I think there can be great group coaching as well, just not really for what we do. But not every coach does what we do. People do different things.
True.
So, just because we do something a certain way doesn't mean it's the right way or anything. It's just the way we do things. Everybody does stuff differently.
Yeah.
This is probably the most important question. Again, this is from Amber. She said, do these coaches realize what they're doing when they're doing this, or are they just products of the culture?
I think it's a mixture of the two. I think some know damn well what they're doing, and I think others have just convinced themselves or are just completely naive, and they're just trying to make it. And even if they have the best of intentions and they want to do right, they're beholden to this formula that they've learned and have relied upon.
And they've been told it's the right way. This is how you do it. You want to be successful? This is how you do it. Which I don't even think is true completely. I will say that it is way, way harder for somebody getting into coaching today to be successful. I cannot even imagine trying to establish a new coaching business right now.
Yeah.
Where there's like, I feel like everybody is a coach right now.
Yeah. But
do they know what they're doing?
I think the ones that know what they're doing are the ones that have enormous audiences and they're just looking to monetize it and they just don't give a crap. They're like, I can sell anything because I have a big audience.
They're coming out with a new program every month. It's basically the same program with a different name. There are definitely people who know exactly what they're doing, and they are business people, much more so than their coaches. Eventually you get wealthy enough doing this, you can hire real coaches that are really good. So it's like, fake it till you make it, basically, and we see that a lot. But, this sounded like it was a pretty negative podcast, but for all of the fact that like the coaching market is super saturated right now, there are a lot of great coaches out there, and we know so many coaches that we think are really fantastic and not doing any of these red flag things, or particularly like the real unethical things, that they genuinely do care. They genuinely give attention, and they might not have the most letters after their name, but you don't have to have the most letters after your name to be a really damn good coach. So they are out there. There are lots and lots of them, but I do think it's getting harder to tell the difference between the good ones, the ones who care, the ones who really help people make change in their lives, and the ones who just make a lot of money. It's getting harder to tell. Yeah, just do your due diligence, guys. You have to do your research. Ask questions. Ask lots and lots of questions. A good coach is never going to be offended by you asking them questions about how they build their program, how much attention can I expect, how quickly will you respond to my messages, etc., etc., etc. These things are important. you don't want to spend, hundreds or thousands of dollars and then find out down the line that you got burned.
Or forget the money. How much time do you invest in yourself and in someone else only to realize that you've wasted it or potentially created a problem where there was none?
I mean, another interesting thing, and I won't dive too far into this, but another thing that we learned in our marketing class is that a lot of coaches are getting the clients first and building the program after. That is
scary.
It's what they teach you to do. Get the clients first, build the program as you go. That literally left a pit in my stomach. I mean, obviously we don't do that. Well, with one-on-one clients, obviously you get the clients and then you build their program. But for a class or a course, get the clients, then build the course. Ooh, that sounds like, I don't like that one bit. So today we're not going to do our Q&A because most of this podcast was Q&A and really great questions, guys. Thanks so much for responding to my sticker on my Instagram story. Let us know if you have other questions about this. If you are looking for a one-on-one coach, you can go to Vegan Proteins. You can fill out the coaching inquiry tab. You can book a call with 𝐃𝐨𝐽 and we can see if we're even a good fit. We have a couple of spots open for one-on-one coaching right now. Not many, but that's another thing to be wary of. False scarcity. I could do a whole podcast on just marketing bullshit. But,
I have 5 spots.
No, really. I just told 𝐃𝐨𝐽 I can take one more today, and I think he has like 2 spots. So really, there's only a couple of spots. But yeah, if you're interested, you can go check that out. Also, feel free to check out our YouTube channel. So we put out new videos every Thursday. The channel is Vegan Proteins. We do lots of recipe videos on there and also some kind of podcasty videos, but they're much shorter. They're like sound bites about a particular topic that are usually 15 minutes or less. So be sure to check that out. We're trying to hit 5,000 subscribers by the end of the year so that we can maybe one day, make $30 a month on YouTube. That's the goal right now. $30 a month on YouTube. Do you guys think YouTubers make a lot of money? Do you know how many subs you need to have to make money on YouTube? It's like ridiculous. But then once you hit like 500,000 subscribers or something, you don't have to work anymore. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we wrestled with the idea of doing videography for a long time. We started with it and just kind of imagine if we would have stuck with it, but it was like, let's learn a little more and make sure we know what we're talking about before we put ourselves out there like that. I just didn't want to do
YouTube because YouTube comment sections are the meanest place on the entire internet, so I was afraid.
And that too. It's like, don't read the comments, don't read the comments, don't read the comments.
𝐃𝐿 reads the comments. He doesn't care.
Mostly. I don't care.
I don't read the comments on YouTube. I do read all the comments on Instagram. They're mostly nice, but YouTube scares the crap out of me, so...
I don't think it's as bad as it used to be, or maybe I'm just a little naive here.
Well, now you can filter stuff on your channel, so if certain words, if someone types bacon, for example, I could put bacon, so if anybody tries to type bacon in a comment, it just won't come through.
Right.
For example. All right, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Vegan Proteins Muscles by Brussels Radio. Feel free to reach out to us on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube. We are at Vegan Proteins and at Muscles by Brussels. We love to hear from you guys. If you enjoyed this podcast, if you could take a second and just leave us a review on whatever app you're listening to this on. It really helps us out. Thanks again so much for tuning in. My name is Danny.
And I'm 𝐃𝐨𝐽.
And we will talk to you next time.